if you could help out a bit with like people coming in, admitting, and muting them, that would be great. And Riyadh, if we have platform questions, we may defer to you, okay, as the platform expert.
You're muted, Riyadh.
You're on mute.
Be happy to. I'd be happy to do that.
Thank you. And Riyadh, quick question. When I close this transcript window, am I closing it for everybody, I hope, so that it doesn't show?
I think it's each person can choose to have it themselves, but I see that the recording is still going, so.
Okay, good. All right, so you can see my slides now, right? I think I'm gonna leave it in the notes mode because I'm just using one screen.
If you want to be able to see your notes, Kate, I can also present so that you can have those on your own. It's up to you. Because right now we see the notes. We don't see it in presentation mode, and we see the notes down below.
Okay, would you mind sharing? Then I'll just use my PowerPoint.
Totally. I've got two screens, so it's easier for me to do that.
Sorry, if you select PowerPoint Live, then as a presenter, you will see the notes in a very convenient format, and we as participants will only see the slides. When you click on share, you have to scroll down a bit. You will see PowerPoint Live.
Yes.
And there you select your presentation.
Oh.
And that's very convenient when you're presenting with PowerPoint. That's
great to know. The thing is, my PowerPoint is not showing up in that list.
If it was open, normally it would, or maybe you opened it after you connected. Okay, maybe then you browse or.
Oh, I had it open before we connected. Let me just see quickly.
I think sometimes it's Miriam speaking. You have to have it open on your laptop, on your computer, and then you can share it live.
Okay, do you see it now?
Yeah.
Perfect.
And,
okay.
Perfect.
Great. All right. I hope that's the right version though. Let me just check one thing.
And sorry, one last tip is like at the top, you will see like an eye that you want to click on to prevent us from like being able to scroll through the presentation without you.
Sorry, where is that?
It's like on the top, there is a little eye that you would see, and I think it says like prevents participants from something. I don't remember how it's called exactly.
And where is the eye? Like above?
It's in the above, yeah, above the presentation somewhere with other buttons.
Oh, private
yeah,
view.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So if you click on that, we can't scroll on our own.
Okay. And just a quick question, can you see my notes or am I only able to see the notes next to the screen?
Only
you. Only you can see.
Okay. I don't see how I can scroll down in those notes, but that's okay. All right, why don't we get started? And thank you so much for these helpful tips. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Let me just here. So this is an information session about a new coaching program for staff. As you may know, I think I put in the email that it's going to involve staff who have coaching experience being able to connect with and coach staff who would like to be coached. And we have invited all of you today because we have the understanding through a couple different sources that you're either a certified coach through an ICF program or accreditation process, that's International Coaching Federation, or that you have completed a formal training course accredited by the ICF, like me. I just finished my course, my intensive course in November. So we need coaches, staff like you that have coaching experience in our program. And the purpose of today is just to tell you about what we have planned, and hopefully that will generate some excitement for you and that you'll decide to join us. We hope to be launching in the next month or so. That might need to be pushed back a bit, but we are ready at this point to tell you about the general parameters of the program. I've pressed record for this meeting. I've remembered to do that. So if you know of people that want to see this session, we'll be able to point them to this recording. Now, go to the next one. So
Hey,
quickly, this
before
is,
we dive in,
yeah.
shall we introduce
Oh,
ourselves
yes.
as the hosts of the call?
Thank you, Molly. Yes. So I'm Kate Doyle, team lead for career support in the Secretariat in New York. And over to you, Molly.
Hi, everyone. I'm Molly Flanagan. I work in the capacity development and operational training service of DOS, and I work on leadership and culture building, and I do a lot of coaching as part of that work.
Thank you. Yeah, and so Molly and I have joined forces on creating this program. And we're excited to do that. And we hope to also partner with our UNAV colleagues. I think some of them are on the call maybe, who have an excellent like prototype already in place in Vienna. And that's been like the inspiration for creating a bigger program that more staff can access. So this slide here is just a quick review of what we'll talk about today. Molly and I will speak for just about 25 minutes, maybe less, talk about the background and goals of the project, what we hope to do in the first 6 months of next year, and then we'll hand it over to you all for questions. So what led us to this idea? As you all know, I'm sure you all have experience in the Secretariat. There's a lot of people feeling stuck around their career paths. Engagement levels at the UN for staff are high in general as an organization, but they are low around career aspirations, low around career hope, to be honest. So we need more supportive programs for them. We have a lot on offer, but we think that coaching should be in the mix. And OHR had a coaching program last year. Maybe some of you are familiar with that, in which we used external coaches, and staff of all levels could, seek help through this company that we had hired. And that program had been around for a few years, but it was extremely expensive to support. It's not something we felt was sustainable and that we could grow. So we're turning to an internal model like this one, in which we can have staff connect with other staff. It is, coaching in general is also important because it's a great way to help specific groups of staff who might face additional barriers, like in our organization, general service staff, women, can tend to gravitate toward being coached more often, as we've seen in our prior program, and they face, barriers to some extent as well. And then groups of staff like parents who have generally deal with a lot more stress and work-life balance issues, especially in the last couple of years. And as I mentioned before, we were sort of led to this idea because UNAV has a great program in place already, and we've met with those colleagues and hope to collaborate with them as we develop this program. And the general peer coaching trends out there have also informed this idea, meaning that we've learned that in other organizations, including in the private sector, HR teams are turning to internal coaching networks more and more. Coaching has kind of exploded as an industry in the last bunch of years, as I've learned. So organizations are hiring external coaches, but they're also starting to mobilize internal staff who have the desire and the credentials and the willingness to coach others in their organization. So that's a little bit about what led us to this idea. So for next year, the 2023 pilot, we'll go into a little more detail in a couple more slides, but generally just want to talk about the short-term goals of it and the long-term goals. Short-term, we want to build the network of coaches. That's all of you. We want to identify more and more people who have again, the experience, the accreditation, and the desire to join a network and coach other staff. Another short-term goal for next year is simply to run a small pilot group of clients, connect them with you all as coaches, and see how it goes. See how the platform runs for us, see where the gaps are, see what we need to do more of or less of. Long-term, we hope a program like this can chip away at the dissatisfaction of some staff in terms of their career, aspirations. We want to increase staff engagement, increase career satisfaction levels. It's a way to provide individualized career support, one-to-one, which can be, much more effective in some ways than sending people only to LinkedIn Learning, where they get the opportunity to learn on their own. And it could be very cost effective, especially when we compare it to what an external vendor would have to charge us to get the same kind of support for staff. So that's a bit about the goals. As I mentioned before, eligibility for this program in terms of the coaches, you've got to either be certified, ICF affiliated certification, or have completed a formal coach training. Those are usually programs in which there's, I think, like 60 hours minimum or more. In those programs, as you know, we get the chance to start coaching a little bit. So you actually come out of those programs with a little bit of coaching experience, but a lot of knowledge and materials to revert to. So we feel that people who have done that kind of training are eligible for this program as well, to be coaches. We are going to ask you all when it's time to register on the platform. We'll ask you to upload your certification or your training completion certificate. So we will do screening for coaches just to make sure everybody's, got the minimum standard that we want. Okay. Okay, now over to you, Molly.
Thanks, Kate. So what are the benefits that you'll gain as a coach participating in this program? We see a number of them. Obviously, one of them is coaching experience. So one of the things that I've heard and we've heard from coaches, trained coaches in the system, is that it can be challenging to find clients. So either it's happening organically. We know there's different small programs happening, and we're hoping that by creating this secretariat-wide initiative, it becomes an easy pipeline for trained coaches to contact and start engaging with coachees or clients who are maybe a little bit further away from them in the organizational structure. And that can be a really valuable peer coaching experience for both sides, really. We also see that this is an opportunity to expand your leadership impact. So as you all know, as trained coaches, when we support someone else in accessing more of their own inner resourcefulness and capacity as a leader, we're not only growing that person, but we're growing the whole organization because we're affecting their impact as leaders. And so that in turn is also an expression of our leadership. Another benefit that we see is an expanded network for all of you as coaches in the program. So you'll be getting to engage with people that you might not otherwise have encountered. And this can lead to other forms of innovation and connection and endless possibilities, really. And finally, I think this is no surprise to anyone on this call, but coaching is, in our view, a really gratifying experience. And so we see this as an opportunity to add to your existing portfolio of responsibilities and to find fulfillment and satisfaction through the coaching process. So those are some of the benefits, and there may be more, but that's where we're starting from in terms of our orientation. Yeah, next slide is great. All right. I apologize if anyone can hear my crying daughter in the background. It's part of being a mom. So what's the timeline for launching? Like Kate said, we may experience some delays in the projected timeline here, but the goal is this month to start inviting you all onto the platform that we'll talk a little bit more about in a moment. But you'll be able to register, complete a profile, like Kate said, upload your certificate of training so we can go through that verification process. And this is also what will determine the scope, the size of the pilot, because each of you will have a chance to indicate your availability for coaching clients. And that will be something that you have control over throughout your participation in this program. Another thing that we're working on in the month of December is to define what the supervision plan will be for coaches who participate in this program. So that's another benefit actually that we want to offer to all of you as coaches in this network or in this program, that you'll be able to receive supervision. And this is something that UNOV has actually pioneered with their coaching program and has been a really valuable component for a number of different reasons to help coaches build your skill sets and also reflect on things that are coming up in the process of coaching and really continue to hone the coaching offering in our specific context. So we'll be continuing to build that supervision plan this month. In January, we hope to launch, and that will include orientation webinars for both coaches and coachees. There will be an open pairing process within this pilot initiative. So everyone will register and express interest, and then there will be a pairing process that happens within a specific time period. And there will be a connection between coaches and clients, and introductory meetings will hopefully take place during that month, as well as from the administration side, we'll be monitoring the pairings to make sure everything is a match. And if there's a need for rematching, we'll be there to support that as well. From February onward, it will be time for the coaching to happen. So we hope that everyone will be able to start their coaching sessions during the month of February. And we'll also be beginning monthly supervisions that month. We'll continue to monitor pairings throughout. And so that will really set the cadence for this pilot. So ongoing coaching from February, March, and then through the month of June. And Kate, you can go to the next slide. So April, May, and June coaching sessions will continue, and as well as supervision. The idea being that you'll complete your coaching engagement in the month of June. And again, if the timeline gets shifted slightly, that closing period will also shift. But we want to have a chance to bring those coaching relationships to a close and then assess how did that pilot go, gather feedback, analyze that feedback, and see where we go from there, including contacting potential new coaches, expanding the reach of the program to a wider population, and making any improvements based on the feedback that we receive. So that's the general timeline. In terms of the format of the pilot, it will be a cohort format. So we'll be using the Together platform, which many of you may be familiar with from the mentoring program. It'll be customized to meet the needs of a coaching program. And in this initial pilot, it'll be, like I was saying before, there will be a specific period where you all can enroll as well as coachees can enroll, and then everyone who enrolls will be able to match coaches and clients. The coach pairing will be client-led, so clients will be able to see who's available. That's part of the algorithm of the platform, that they can see who matches with their particular interests, as well as the whole pool of available coaches, and select and reach out to a coach. The coaching relationship that we anticipate would be 6 months long. So that's pretty typical for a coaching relationship. We know that sometimes it goes longer, but for the sake of this pilot, we're targeting a 6-month period. And that would include both an intro meeting and 5 coaching sessions. We have in mind a max of 3 clients per coach. And at the same time, each coach will be able to determine your personal availability. So if you only want to take 1 client on, that's fine. That's up to each coach to determine based on their capacity. And built into the platform are regular feedback surveys from both coaches and coachees. So that's a really nice feature that we'll be able to gather that data as we progress through the pilot. And like I was saying before, we'll be offering supervision sessions that will support coaches in reflecting on their experience and growing their skill set. So what do we expect or ask from you if you're interested in participating in this program? The first step will be to complete the questionnaire, which is actually a way of setting up your coach profile. So that'll be gathering some data from you, most of which will be visible to your potential clients, and that's how they decide if they want to reach out and connect with you. And you'll have a chance to review that before it goes live. The next step rather is to attend an orientation webinar, which we're hoping to run in January. And this will be more specific information about getting started in the program, including some important distinctions that we want to make sure everyone's on the same page about, such as what's the boundary between coaching and therapy or counseling, other therapeutic modalities, as well as what's the boundary between coaching and some of the other services available within the organization, such as the ombudsman's office and other mediation opportunities for clients. So we want to make sure that all of our coaches are fully aware of those boundaries and operating in their integrity as professional coaches as part of this program. We're also interested in building a community of coaches. So that's another purpose of this orientation webinar, to begin connecting and sharing knowledge and experience with each other. You'll be able to submit requests via the platform in January, or coachees will be able to submit requests rather via the platform in January. So there's an expectation that if you register to be a coach, you are actually communicating with your coachee through the platform, and you're also setting up your meetings through the platform. It links to your Outlook. So what's valuable about that is it's a way for us to gather data on how many coaching sessions are happening. And this is really important for demonstrating the value and impact of this program. So we hope you'll all be willing to comply with us on that front. You'll also be holding the sessions, like we said, between January and June. And just so you know, part of enrolling in this program on both the coach and the coachee side will be an agreement that each party has to make in terms of what the expectations are. And as coaches, you know how important this is, that both coach and client are really committed to the coaching process and have an understanding about confidentiality and what coaching is and what it's not. And so in addition to those webinars, there will actually be a written agreement saying this is what coaching is and this is what I commit to when I sign up for coaching. You'll also be asked to provide feedback, as I mentioned, and to attend those monthly supervision sessions. So that's a lot of information that we just shared with you all, and we'd love to open the floor now for any questions that you have and do our best to answer them. So the floor is open. Who's got questions? And you're welcome to raise your hand or shout out or pop something in the chat. Martina.
Yes, hi, Molly. Molly, I have a question. When you were describing the platform and the program, you mentioned something about leadership experience. Could you repeat that and maybe just expand on it a little bit? Because some of us are thinking that we have to have leadership experience if we want to participate as coaches on this platform. Thanks.
Thanks, Martina. You know, I love that question because I think we often associate in the UN leadership with a specific position of authority. And we're coming from a broader definition of what it means to be a leader. So as those of you who've read or familiar with the UN leadership framework will know, there's really been this call to action for staff at all levels to take a stand and really demonstrate and live the values of the organization and new ways of working together. And so when we say this program will give you leadership experience, we mean that in that broadest sense, that you'll be supporting others in growing themselves. And as far as we're concerned, that's leadership. I see another hand. Corinne.
Hi, thanks. It's Karen.
Karen.
I had a similar question on the levels. I have an issue with the mentoring platform because when the people who are looking for mentors see levels, even if we are leaders in our in our own ways, there's an assumption that people at lower professional levels can't be leaders and therefore don't have much to share or contribute. So I was just wondering if whether the level, our professional or general post levels can be avoided, since we're here as trained coaches and not providing services based on our particular rank within this organization. And then just a few other small questions. I understood that one of the benefits is intended to help us gain credentials, potentially. And so I wanted to just clarify whether we can use these hours. Like, for example, I'm a member of ICF. I'd like to seek accreditation with ICF. Are we allowed to report these hours, or do we need the extra consent of each and every client that we're coaching? And then finally, I know this is maybe a bit strange of a question, but do we need to report this as an outside activity request under the ethics rules of the UN? And if you might have any insights, is this kind of like an inside outside, since there is such a strong managerial support, HR supports it? So it's kind of like just a purely inside activity, even though we cooperate with ICF, or if you have any thoughts on that, thanks.
Thanks, Karen. 3 great questions there. I'll take your last one first. We are approaching this really from the One UN perspective and see this as an internal activity. So you would not need to request outside activities for this initiative and participating in it. Of course, we always recommend that you inform and clarify, clear with your supervisor that you're going to be participating in this program so that everybody is on the same page. But no, you would not need outside activities for this. In terms of using the hours towards accreditation, yeah, we see that as a great opportunity in this program, and one of the driving motivations probably for a lot of coaches to join the network or to join the program. And in terms of their permission, so if you're seeking accreditation and you need to record a coaching session, you always need permission from the client to do that. And different programs have their own ways of like forms for that. So we wouldn't be providing that. But in terms of just reporting those hours, no, you wouldn't need their permission to report those hours. And as far as I'm concerned, the last time I applied for my ICF credential, because I was doing a lot of coaching within the organization, I didn't actually have to provide any name or, identifying details about my clients. It was rather a statement that I was coaching as part of my work. So, but that's something to really go to the ICF to clarify further. In terms of your first question about levels, yeah, this is something we've grappled with in the design process of this pilot. And, I can see benefits and potential risks on both sides. And personally, having coached staff at all levels within the organizations, both above and below me, I see the complexity of that. And I also see there's a freedom when we can release our rank and meet as human beings, which is fundamental to the coaching process. So, Kate, I forget where we landed on this, but I do think it would be worth trying in the pilot, not sharing the level information and seeing how that goes, and also open to receiving others' ideas and feedback about this, because I know there's probably perspectives on all different sides of it.
Yeah, I think we did discuss this when we were designing the questionnaires, Molly, and I think we determined that it would be best to leave out the level information for both sides, along with some other information that we were on the fence about, like job network. There were a couple elements in the profile where we thought, why would you need this information if you're looking for a coach? And on the other side, if you're a coach and you've gotten a request from a client, it really shouldn't matter what level that client is, right? If they're above you or below you. So I'll double check on what the questionnaires currently have, but we definitely were considering that element.
Ava.
Hi, good morning, everyone. First thing I wanted to say is thank you for your effort in putting this together, and congratulations for getting so far with this initiative. It's really exciting. I remember when I first saw it and I fill out my form and then been kind of like counting the days to get the update. So very exciting. Another thing I wanted to say is the something I noticed, which is the overwhelming majority of women on this call and interested in this initiative. And I'm just leaving that there. I don't know exactly what it means, but I just want to acknowledge that. And to the point that was discussed just now, I think it's very important, and I think it probably makes a lot of sense to leave out levels, because as coaches, it shouldn't matter. And then I had a question, which is I'm interested to see if you can elaborate a little bit on these supervisory calls. How is it going to work? Who's going to be supervising? And what would be the kind of feedback that the coach would get? Thank you.
Great question, Ava. Also great observations. So for the coaching supervision, we're really inspired by UNOV's approach. So where they have an external consultant who's also a coach trainer who holds these group supervision sessions. And actually, Martina or others on the call might from UNOV might be in a better position to tell us a little bit or speak directly to what happens in those supervision sessions. But like I said, we're still defining what it would be for this wider group. And so it could be a chance to practice coaching with each other with observation and feedback. It could be a chance to reflect on what's coming up for each person in a group setting, like as a coach, and where your own growth edges are. So it could take different formats. I see Claudia has your hand up, so maybe Claudia, as a UNOV staff, you could speak to this a little bit in addition to whatever questions you have.
Yes. Good afternoon, good morning, everyone. Yes, thank you for giving me the floor. I just want to explain a little bit, maybe just for our internal coach because we have at UNOV, our voluntary coaching program, we call it, is running already, is framed under an information circular. We have already everything in place, running up. So it's really, this is a kind of a cooperation with New York to join and use this platform. And this is just an explanation, an introduction, because some of you coaches in UNOV may with thinking how it's going to be working. So we are working together with Molly, working together with our colleagues in New York to see how we're going to match this program so that we can really join efforts. Coaching is growing, coaching is taking place in the organization. We have a lot of experience already since 2017. UNODC have been implementing the coaching program. So it's really, I'm very excited to see that this is growing, that we are joining efforts. On the supervision, I want to say that supervision started with our chief of the unit at that time, Roots. We were having the most experienced coaches in the organization having supervision with each other, having peer coaching sessions. After that, we have arranged for consultants, also experienced executive coaches to run these sessions. We are working together with them to tailor the sessions to the need of the internal coach of the organization. So right now we have a very good program taking place. And I'm also happy to discuss this with New York. How can we cooperate and really use the platform and use also the human power in New York to grow and make this program even more strong.
Thanks so much, Claudia. Let's see. Any other questions?
Can I come in?
Yeah, please.
So no more questions, but maybe it's just actually a question is there anything we can do to support you to move this forward? Because you mentioned like maybe a little bit of a delay in the time frame that you proposed. So is there anything that people in the network can do to support you and to move this forward?
What a great coaching question, Ava.
Yeah, yeah, that's sort of.
Kate, what support do we need, Kate?
Well, that's just music to our ears. So I would say if any of you have time, and would like to get involved, please email Molly or me, or use our coaching@un.org email address, which will be the main email for the program, because we could quite possibly use some help. I'm thinking about the resources we're trying to develop, like we'll have a discovery forum for clients. We're going to have agendas that will be in the platform that can help guide the sessions. So we're trying to develop those. We have, we have some models to go on, but we'd like feedback on what we develop. For example, we might need tips on where to find other resources. So those are some of the things we'd need help on. Also, spreading the word. If you know other colleagues who were not on the invite or not on the call and have coaching experience or training, please let them know about this. And yeah, we can think of other activities that we could use help on too.
I think that's
maybe, yeah, like we might need a couple people to help us test the platform potentially, or we might be able to cover that internally. But Riyadh, who's on the call, it will be finishing up the setting up of the platform to enable this to happen. He's done some work, but a little bit remains. Yeah, so we'll just reach out. Let us know if you're free.
Yes, I would really want to mention something about the platform. And what we've discussed in the last meeting, we have DC and New York that we're going to be testing the platform. So maybe if we can have a group of volunteers to internally, see how the platform works, because we were receiving some concerns about the platform as well, but I know that there have been some changes to tailor it to coaching. So I'm curious to know what are the functions that have been changed in order to tailor it more to the coaching program.
Okay, sure. Maybe Molly, we had talked about creating a Teams group, right, for all interested coaches. Maybe in there we can communicate with you all going forward about testing the platform or other things that we might need. So maybe we can get that set up in the next week or so, the Teams group. And then about the platform, Claudia, we're of course changing the terminology. So it'll be coaches on one side and then clients on the other. And in lots of little places, the wording will be reflected for other changes will be reflected for a coaching program. It's going to be cohort based, so there'll be a finite period. Unlike the mentoring program, which is now year-round registration and pairing, this coaching program will only go from January to June, at least in this initial pilot. Okay, any other questions? Hands up.
Karen, looks like you have another question. And Claudia, I don't know if you have anything as well. Go ahead, Karen.
Yeah, sorry to take the floor again. I just had a quick question on whether the coaching is designed specifically on career development, or should we expect that, maybe other trajectories such as, I don't know, leadership or conflict management would also potentially be among the interests of the clients? Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, clients will bring whatever topics are relevant for them, right? And we know as coaches that it's important that the agenda is always client driven. So part of the intake form for you as coaches will be to indicate your areas of expertise and to be able to speak to what really lights you up as a coach and what are the things that you like to focus on. So clients will be able to see those profiles and choose coaches who have expertise in the areas that they think might be most useful for them. And then once you're in the coaching relationship, it's really client driven.
Yeah, some of the types of coaching that we have in the questionnaire that clients and coaches can choose from include career coaching, I think leadership management, area, conflict resolution or conflict coaching, pre-retirement coaching. So there's about 5 or 6 that we've identified, at least for now, that we'll include in the questionnaire.
Any other questions, comments, feedback? Ingrid.
Hi, my question is if the coaches will also have some sort of a feedback platform to exchange like their favorite coaching tools or like some impressions that can be helpful for everybody else, so that basically built in is also some sort of a growing possibility for coaches to learn from each other.
Yeah, great question, and definitely on our radar. So we did mention the orientation session, but we envision that there will be regular touch points for all coaches who are participating in the program, as well as, like Kate was saying, a Teams channel so that there's an easy way for coaches to reach out to others in the program, you know, drop a question in or a reflection, and there might be other ways as well. So we want to also lean into the community of practitioners on what would be the best way for all of us coaches to stay connected. Any other questions or comments? Ava, go ahead.
Yeah, just one just came to mind. Have you discussed, I'm sure you have discussed or consider the possibility of using maybe some of the existing contracts that OHR has to make assessments available to the coaching network, like the DISC assessment or a 360, maybe through the staff college, any of the existing tools that does not require a specific coaching certification with that assessment, something that could be used by coaches with clients that are kind of like asking this kind of like development in becoming more aware of some of their skills.
That's a really great idea. We hadn't really been thinking about that for this particular program, but it would be a nice add-on for clients. At least for me, the different tools that I use do require certification and, you know, being a licensed practitioner of the different tools, but it's something to explore. So I think this would be something for us to think about as a community of practitioners, and also for us to look into, you know, Kate and I to look into what are the tools that maybe don't require certification that could be made available to anyone in the program.
Yeah, definitely. I like that idea. And even for the tools that do require certification, we could at least let the coaching network know about them and which vendors offer them and how they'd go about getting certified, you know, just in case people want to take things further on their own.
Yeah, like for example, I use the MBTI, and Georgia, I think you're on the call, when my co-coach from the very beginning, we have been looking at getting that platform set up again. It lapsed, and so we're looking at getting it set up again, and it's an annual fee. So if and when we get that set up, then we could potentially make that available to other coaches who are interpreters of the MBTI, and just so you don't have to duplicate getting the platform set up.
Yeah, that sounds great.
And the platform is up and running, Molly.
Oh, it's up and running. Fantastic. Well, then we are ready to go. So if that's a tool you use, then you can reach out and we can facilitate that.
That's great. One particular tool that comes to mind, but that's a conversation for a different time, is the 360 that was developed by McKinsey for the staff college based on the UN leadership model. So that's what's really interesting, is that it was tailored to our leadership model and is used for the women and what's the name of that? Women leadership and women at the UN.
Yeah. I don't know what the cost is per person for the administration of that tool, but if it's something that potentially could be funded by the office of the client, right? Because they're the ones who are wanting to do that 360. And if it doesn't require certification, then potentially all of us in the network could support a coaching client in taking that assessment and reviewing their results together.
Yeah, maybe
Wanda.
that could even be the focus of a whole cohort in the future, having a dedicated cohort where everyone does that. If that could be worked out, that could be really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Lots of
I think-
possibilities here. I
Yeah.
could imagine a group coaching cohort where everyone does the 360 and has some one-on-one sessions, and then there's a group session. So I think we're really just at the beginning, and there's lots of different possibilities for where this could go.
Yeah, and we really want it to be the type of thing that the type of program where coaches get a lot out of it, not just coaching experience, but additional education and information about certification and all of that.
Wanda, go ahead.
Yes, hello. Hi. I was wondering because I noticed, I also understand why, because of funding and so on, but in Vienna, we have lots of field offices, about 95 all over the world. And we have also lots of staff that are hired through UNDP, for example, national program officers that perform functions on a P level and locally recruited G staff and so on. But we are always trying to be inclusive and open it to all personnel, regardless of their contractual status. And I was just wondering, since the mentoring platform is only for staff, will the coaching be also only for staff?
So we would also love to take a super inclusive approach in this program and also go beyond the secretariat and have it be a system-wide program eventually. For the sake of this pilot, we are starting with staff only, but that's something that we're open to exploring over time. It's really just about, we need to define the initial population, which won't even be the whole secretariat. It will be a subset within the secretariat. So that's something that we'd like to continue to explore as we go from pilot to ongoing service.
From pilot to pilot. No, because we are inclusive, and we advertise it in all our career presentations or workshops in the field. We always tell our clients we offer coaching services free of charge, a bit selfishly because we want to get more hours also, and we have over 40 coaches. That's what I was just wondering, but okay, I understand. I also understand the funding issue and so on. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, and especially with this first pilot, it's going to be pretty tiny. We think that maybe we'll have about 100 clients that we can support. And like Molly said, it's really going to be driven by how many coaches register and how many clients they say they can take on. So we'll hope to learn a lot from this round and then be able to expand it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Do we have any people on the call that recently finished their training, maybe in the last 6 months or more? And curious how you feel about this opportunity to acquire more experience.
Hi, Kate. Well, if I may, we finished the course together. Well, first of all, thank you very much for this experience for us new, freshly graduated coaches to get some experience. What I wanted just to suggest regarding the list of the topics that would be offered to coachees, I think I haven't heard, and maybe you mentioned it, but I have overheard it. I think it would be good to also offer kind of coaching for the LGBTQI employees, so that we also involve that component.
Yeah, that's a great point, and it's one of the populations that you can express interest in working with or identify with in the process of registering for yourself, registering yourself as a coach.
Yeah, we have, it's similar to the mentoring questionnaire. There's a place where you can put which, I forget the term that we use, something like social affiliation groups, do you identify with or want to connect with? And it's things like LGBTQ, parents/caregiver, I think people with disabilities, and maybe like women, 4, 5 or so. By the way, when you're taking this questionnaire or even thinking about it in the next few days, if you think of other groups like that, please let us know. Because we're open to expanding that list. That way you get to connect with people about the different types of core coaching that we offer, career coaching, etc. But you're more likely to maybe connect with somebody who you have the same interests, or feel you're some affiliation with. So great question.
Great, thanks for clarifying. Thank you very much.
Sure.
All right, well, if there's no further questions, we want to thank you all so much for joining us today. We're really excited to be formally kicking this off, and really hoping that all of you will decide to opt in and be part of this program and help us to build and make coaching widely available for any staff member who wants it, and potentially any UN personnel who wants it. So I think it's a really big vision and a big dream, and we certainly can't do it alone. So we're really counting on you to join us and help continue to grow our organization from the inside out.
Well
We
said,
will.
Molly.
Yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Kate.
No, I was just going to say very well said, and thank you all for coming, and we'll be in touch with you soon.
Yeah, you'll see the recording available after the meeting, and we'll be creating a Teams channel so that everyone who was invited to this call can opt in. And of course, if there's others who weren't here today that you know who are interested in being part of the program, let us know and we'll invite them as well.
And I hope that we'll be contacting you soon, hopefully in the next 2 weeks or so, with the link where you can register on the platform and create your profile.
Indeed.
I have one more question. Part of the program can only be UN Secretariat staff, trained coaches, or because we also have some colleagues in the Atomic Agency and so on that are part of our supervision group. I was just wondering, you want to keep it now UN Secretariat, just to understand?
For right,
you know,
for right now, we're limiting it to the Secretariat for this pilot. In the future, we hope to expand it.
Because the mentoring, I understand, is also more UN system-wide, right? Okay, thank you.
Yes, yes.
All right. Thanks everyone so
Thank
much. Have a
you.
wonderful day, weekend, and hope to be in touch with you
Bye-bye.
soon.
Bye.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye. Thank
Very
you.
Bye,
cool.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Have a
Thank you for
lovely
the
weekend.
session.
Thank you.
Thanks.